Unlit Matches, Chapter 10, Part 1. After experiencing the emotional roller coaster that was the past half an hour or so, both of them are practically elated to go outside. Liam arguably more so, but truthfully the two of them equally needed a breath of fresh air, literally and metaphorically. The wind gusted coldly past every so often, enough to warrant a jacket even in the warm ending trails of summer. Liam is almost always dressed for cold weather, preferring long sleeves and long pants no matter the humidity. In contrast, Abraham seems underdressed for the soon-to-be chilly autumnal weather. Though that's more of a situational thing than a personal choice. Hey, I'm not sure if this is a stupid question or not, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Liam breaks the silence as Abraham looks at him waiting. Do you, even get cold anymore? Definitely need to get you some new clothes anyway, but I don't know if you'd need a jacket. He trails off sheepishly as Abraham smiles back gently.
A jacket would be great, actually, yeah. I still get cold. Kinda wish I didn't, though. I mean...
Abraham looks up at the ceiling, recalling memories of freezing winters and playing around in the snow. He looks back at Liam with a small grin.
You remember how cold it gets here? All those fucking snow days we had to make up in the summer.
Liam laughs, sifting through his closet to find something smaller for Abraham to wear. Though the two of them were roughly the same height and pre-everything that happened with Bram, roughly the same build. Now, Abraham's frame is sickly and bony, a sight that on closer look would leave some worried or even distressed. His posture seems to curl in on itself, using his own arms and hands as a security blanket to shield him from everything. Thankfully, Liam had old clothes he'd never wore but couldn't get rid of for whatever reason, and though oversized, they fit Abraham well enough to be comfortable. Yeah, not sure I could forget how bitterly cold winter is here. Can't say I've grown to enjoy it any more than I did when I was a kid.
Do you still hate winter?
Abraham lets out a baffled chuckle. Yes! Liam finally finds a musty-smelling jacket and pointedly holds it out to him for emphasis. Shoveling's a pain in the ass, I have to drive in it, and it's too damn cold! As Liam walks over, jacket in hand, Abraham is grinning ear to ear. Oh God, what did you think of? Liam's eyes practically roll into his head, imagining every scenario from when they were little.
Only the time you slipped on that patch of ice and bruised your ass.
It was my tailbone, thank you very much. And I remember you ate shit and lost one of your baby teeth right after. You couldn't stop crying because of the blood. Something about breaking your chin or something.
Ha! I legitimately thought I broke my chin, if that's even possible to do. Wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Abraham slides the jacket on as they both heckle and tease each other, smiling more than either of them had in a very long time. Not they'd realize it. Walking out the front door, haphazardly shoving the long-forgotten plastic bag of things Liam had gotten earlier to the side, Liam leads in front as they stood outside, quickly stopping and looking back at Abraham. I don't know why I'm in front. I have no idea where we're going. Abraham laughs and steps in front, walking knowingly towards the expanse of woods. A sight to many that would deter even getting close, the vast forestscapes both men are intimately familiar with seems to go on forever. It was definitely dark now, only slight traces of color marking the edges of the sky, leaving room for the stars and moon to take the spotlight. Liam's eyes adjust well as they can to the ever-darkening trees surrounding the two of them, though, after a while, he resorts to just making sure he can see Abraham directly in his view. Liam opens his mouth to ask a question, but catches a glance of Abraham's very obviously glowing eyes and shuts his mouth. He's pretty sure he already knows the answer anyway. It was kind of nice, in a way, like seeing a lighthouse on a stormy sea, as if he knew what that was like, but the point still stands. After a few more minutes of silence followed by leaves crunching underfoot, Liam can't help but have curiosity overtake him. So, this person, are they a friend of yours?
You sound like a parent trying to figure out if their kid is dating someone.
Liam suppresses a laugh, leaving a pointed exhale in its wake.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I think so. Honestly, I'm not sure. They can be hard to gauge emotions with, if that makes sense.
He nods in response, waiting for Abraham to continue.
They found me after I got out. They saved my life. I'm not sure if I can ever repay that.
Abraham sighs and frowns, continuing ahead through the woods.
I feel bad for asking for more help, but I don't think there's anyone else that even has an inkling of information on, well, you know.
He gestures to himself, looking back at Liam, who only nods silently, looking down at the ground as if to gather his thoughts. Are they like you, then? Abraham pauses, thinking for a moment.
Kind of? I think they're more like a forest spirit or fairy or something.
Liam's eyes light up, and without speaking a word aloud, Abraham responds in kind.
They don't have wings, sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have said fairy as a descriptor.
Well, here goes my excitement for the evening. Liam dramatically throws his hands in the air, though he'd be lying if a part of him wasn't genuinely disappointed. Abraham laughs, but suddenly stops and picks up his pace, pointing ahead at a particularly large pine tree. Liam freezes at the quick change in speed, but quickly snaps out of it and dashes to catch up. Abraham, already at the base of the enormous tree, its roots extending like tendrils across the forest floor. He waves him over, embarrassed over the lack of control he has on his speed. Before he can apologize, Abraham's eyes widen and he calls out ahead.
Wait, Liam, watch out for...
Before he can even react, Liam catches his shoe on a protruding root, heading straight towards the definitely not cushioned ground beneath him. In a split second, Abraham's eyes glow enough to bathe the surrounding area in artificial sunlight, and a hand-like apparition shoots out in Liam's direction. It grabs Liam by the back of his jacket, pulling taut and standing him up straight in barely the blink of an eye. Though it appeared out of thin air and vanished almost immediately, its presence was enough to knock the wind out of anyone or anything in close proximity. Not that either of them would notice it, as the current moment already sucked the air out of both of their lungs. Abraham's eyes dim back to their regular faint glow. His eyes widened and mouth agape as Liam reflects the same expression back to him.
Don't ask me what that was. I've no fucking clue either.
Abraham pauses, relaxing his tensed posture and lowering his outreached, tangible arm.
Are you... okay?
Liam breathes in slowly and sighs out shakily, steadying himself on shaking legs.
Yeah, I'm okay. I think I just need a moment.
He walks over to Abraham carefully and slowly, eyeing the roots as if they could come alive at any second and trip him again. Liam then makes his way past him and sits down at the base of the monstrous conifer, and Abraham soon follows suit. He sits down cautiously, afraid to hurt Liam, even though the power he holds was helpful at the time. They sit quietly for a few minutes, the sound of late-going bugs shattering about before the true cold comes. It's almost perfectly tranquil, only if you can't hear the racing thoughts flashing between the two of them like lightning.
Thank you. I didn't mean to freak out like that. Even though I know you and trust you, it's just... all of this is so... new to me.
Liam almost whispers out the words, afraid to disturb the peacefulness and gentle quiet between them. Abraham lets out a small exhale.
Trust me, it's all new to me too.
He pauses, gathering the words to speak aloud.
I'm terrified I'm going to hurt people all the time. I mean, I hurt you already. The whole reason we're even here is...
He stares unblinking at the ground in front of him. Shame and guilt and exasperation show blatantly on his face, bubbling up to the surface to form small, uncried tears. Liam looks at him with a deep sadness many people never experience in their life. A look full of not pity, but true understanding. A plea to any higher being to wash away the pain felt by the individual. How can you convey in words years of melancholy and hopelessness to someone, anyone else? A scream without a voice to accompany it. Tears that fall until you're nothing but once living components melted into a field of flowers and weeds. A hurt so deep that you'd give everything, anything, to make sure you or anyone else never feels it again. How do you convey the nature of caring for another? To hold them and tell them, I'm sorry, and I know how it feels, and I don't ever want to let you go. Liam wordlessly brushes Abraham's overgrown hair back behind his freckled ears, somehow hoping the gesture will send all of those thoughts and feelings over through something akin to osmosis. A look of hesitant tenderness falls between them, uncertainty coating the tiniest molecules surrounding them. The two of them sit there in silence, terrified to say anything at all. Eventually, either a minute or an hour goes by, and Liam swallows thickly. Looking away and landing on the spot he almost fell earlier, a small glint of a reflection can be seen. He squints until a vague shape of an object appears. A look of recognition falls over him, standing up to head in the direction of it. His lighter.
Forgot I had this on me. Probably not great for a particularly flammable place like this, huh?
He attempts to ease back into a sense of normalcy, half smiling back at Abraham, still sitting by the tree with an expression Liam can't make out. Grabbing his lighter off the ground, now speckled with a fine layer of dirt, he starts to put it back in his pocket. A hand. No, a branch snatches it out of Liam's hand, crushing it with an admittedly satisfying pop. A small puff of smoke plumes out from the mini-explosion, leaving as quickly as it came, small remnants of ashes fluttering about.
No, it is not.
A voice speaks up behind Liam as he whips around to face it. Unlit Matches, Chapter 10, Part 2. A humanoid figure, short in stature, stares daggers into him, sharp enough to slice through bone. Dark hair, almost invisible in the current lighting, curls around blood-red eyes, full of pure hatred. If Liam died of a heart attack today, he wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. The eyes shift towards Abraham, who is now standing alert but unsure.
Abraham, you should choose the company you keep better than this wretched man. He reeks of flames burned hitherto. A soul scorched by flame is not welcome here.
Liam, not knowing whether to feel offended or guilty, tentatively steps back.
I'm sorry, I wasn't going to...
No matter your intentions this night, you have struck fire before in the trees, yes.
A step forward is taken, undoing any personal space Liam attempted to gain moments before.
I mean, I can't say I haven't, but...
Completely ignoring any pleas of innocence or forgiveness, they turn towards Abraham, now approaching hesitantly.
Why have you shown up here with someone so destructive?
Seeing the chance to move away, Liam shuffles backwards uncomfortably. He crosses his arms and keeps his mouth shut, knowing anything he would say wouldn't change a thing. Unfortunately, knowing from his experience, he huffs, not angrily, but definitely not pleased to meet this new individual either. It would seem the feeling is mutual.
Nade, he wasn't going to do anything, I promise.
Abraham walks towards them, intentionally standing between them and Liam.
He's the, friend I told you about before.
Nade's stance relaxes, if only slightly, eyeing up Liam as if seeing if they could beat him in a fight. They definitely could now, but even just a few years ago he was full of spite and anger enough to learn how to punch where it hurts. Now, though, he strives to avoid conflict and regular interaction altogether. He'd at least try. Maybe Abraham would think he looked cool. Actually, no. He doesn't like conflict either. Best to not think about it at all. Liam blinks, trying to shoo the thoughts away as he's been forced into this staring contest. Abraham's eyes dart between them like a tennis match, wanting to avoid arguments, but also not wanting either of them to kick each other's asses.
I see.
Nade pauses, relaxing further into a normal posture, seemingly put at ease for the time being.
He may stay then. I trust your judgment. And perhaps I was too harsh.
Liam wants to pipe up with a passive-aggressive, "You think?" But instead he just frowns, inching closer towards Abraham like a protective shield. He feels a little sheepish, too. Knowing he has been mentioned before, Abraham gives him a look of pity, an expression that says, "Sorry about this," but also a plea for him to give it another shot.
So, Liam, this is Nade. They are a spirit of the forest?
Abraham shrugs, looking at Nade for confirmation. They nod once in confirmation.
I suppose that is an accurate description.
And Nade, this is Liam. He's, well, my friend. I guess I don't really have another descriptor for him. We've known each other for forever, practically.
Uncrossing his arms, Liam steps forward and extends his hand like an olive branch. Actually, that's a great metaphor for this, he thinks, covering up a small laugh with a cough.
Sorry we got off on the wrong foot earlier. I really didn't mean to bring my lighter with me. I tend to leave it in my pockets and forget about it later.
He awkwardly laughs, trying to ease the uncomfortableness of the conversation, even if just for his own benefit.
It's nice to meet you, Nade. Thank you for helping Abraham. He speaks very highly of you.
Those words are all truthful. Liam feels a small bead of sweat fall down his back like he could step on a landmine any second. Apparently satisfied with the answer, Nade tentatively holds out their hand to shake, fully made out of a birch wood-like material that's rough to the touch. Small leaves and saplings poke out from crevices, seemingly a fully functioning limb, but still brimming with life within it. It's not the most comfortable of handshakes, both literally and metaphorically, but they both manage through it anyway.
I just did what I felt was right at the time. Despite his appearance, there was a look in his eyes that I haven't seen from a human in many years.
Both men wait for them to elaborate further, but instead they turn to look at the two of them, done with whatever they wanted to say, it seems.
Now that we're done with formalities, why have you come to visit?
Are we not allowed to just visit?
Abraham replies, a little taken aback by the bluntness of the statement.
You are allowed. I can just sense that there is reasoning and purpose to you being here, especially to bring a guest.
Suspicion and another pointed look follow the word guest. Liam pretends not to notice. Abraham truly doesn't notice, oblivious to the small feud started directly in front of his eyes.
Yeah, there is a reason.
Abraham sighs, remembering the motivation of them coming here to see Nate in the first place. He mentally makes a note to visit them again without a reason, unless just wanting to hang out is a reason.
My abilities are being used even without me being conscious of them. It's not like before, fighting for control.
Abraham trails off, taking a deep breath and composing himself. It can't hurt him anymore. He's okay. He's in control.
I've been staying with Liam for a little while now, and he's losing his memories while I wake up not feeling hungry. It's just been small stuff, but I know it'll only get worse.
Nade's brows furrow, processing information and turning it into data for their mental library to match up references with. Their red eyes lost in thought, pondering and thinking deeply. They finally refocus, looking up from the grass to ask a question.
What if you shared your memories?
Abraham and Liam look at each other, then back at Nade, confused.
What do you mean by that?
Abraham questions for the both of them.
Well, if you both shared an identical memory, there would be no memory for you to consume. The information would already be there.
I mean, I guess so, but how?
I know of a way, if you are interested. I'm not sure what you would call it. Witchcraft, perhaps?
Liam dons a skeptical expression, narrowing his eyes.
What, like magic?
Magic isn't real. This is something else.
Nade responds robotically, starting to walk away with the intention of being followed. Though they both start to follow Nade, Liam frowns in frustration, staring dead ahead as to not let the anger get the best of him. Abraham gives a half-hearted smile, nudging Liam with his elbow. A crack of a smile forms, and he finally uncrosses his arms, at least relaxing a small amount. Nade stops short at alarming speed, causing both of them to almost crash directly into Nade's small form. Neither Liam or Abraham were very tall, both extremely average-heighted, but the top of Nade's head reached below both of their chins. Not like the short stature of them mattered anyway. When two full-grown men crashed directly into their backside, there wasn't even a flinch in response. Liam wants to make a sarcastic remark about a warning next time, but despite the frustrations, he desperately wants to like him, so he says nothing at all. Maybe he should work on his self-worth more, but that's a future Liam problem.
Here.
Nade states bluntly, a staff, a lance, appearing suddenly from their palm, gesturing to a mushroom ring nestled between the trees. Truthfully, the small clearing is pretty and quaint, but in the moonlight with the current circumstances, it feels like a haunted ground. Neither of them would be surprised if it was. Seeing a ghost tonight would be the least of their problems.
Sit down and join hands.
Both do as they're told, sitting down into the surprisingly lush grass within the circle. Sitting cross-legged, they hold hands as Liam starts to laugh a little.
What?
Abraham questions, giving an amused but questioning look in response.
Feels like we're at summer camp or something. Or like, about to summon a demon. Either way, I think everything's just hitting me all at once. I couldn't have ever imagined this is how I'd be spending my night.
A small chuckle is heard from both of them, while Nade is too focused on preparing whatever this ritualistic thing was. Or maybe they don't care about the conversation at all, choosing to ignore it. It's anyone's guess, really.
What, sick of me already?
Abraham grins, his eyes squinting as he smiles. Truthfully, neither of them would have noticed this if it hadn't been for the strobe-esque lighting situation from a certain someone's glowing eyes. Both of them wanted to bring it up, but it was so obvious that there was genuinely no reason to say anything without assuming the other person was blind. Also, after a while, they just got used to it. The adaptability of the human brain is quite amazing.
Course not. You're not the problem here.
Liam laughs, closing his eyes long enough to miss a solemn expression pass over Abraham. Nade thumps their lance on the ground loud enough to get both of their attention.
It is ready. Are the two of you accepting of this?
A glance is shared, Abraham looking at Liam to be the decider. Even though he's scared shitless, Liam simply shrugs in affirmation. It's not like tonight can get any weirder. Nade looks between them and nods, an emotionless expression seen on their face. Before they can begin, Abraham cuts in nervously.
Will this hurt?
Closing their eyes, most likely thinking, Nade responds with a very soothing,
I do not know.
A true look of sympathy falls over their face, looking at both men with a softness not shown to many, if at all.
I am sorry. My intent is not to cause injury or pain. My sister has spoken of this in passing. She did not tell me a result.
Reassuring.
Abraham says, turning back to Liam.
It is quite the opposite. Did you misunderstand?
He wants to explain, but decides that now is not the right time to explain sarcasm to a literal forest deity. He just shakes his head. Nade takes this as a sign to continue. Abraham wills himself to remember to explain the concept later. Nade's lance starts to change from a simple wooden stick-like form to a blossoming sapling, leaves and tiny branches emerging from unseen cracks in the wood. A beat of silence, a hush falls over the entire woodland. Flowing creeks screeching to a halt, all living things becoming utterly silent. The wind stops, gentle howling now in eerie stillness that shakes into anything and everything it can. The birds do not fly, the crickets do not chirp, the rodents and reptiles are now hushed in this moment. Then a spark of something, not in a literal sense, but a feeling of seeing a bomb detonate in front of you and dreadfully waiting for the impact. A waiting game that's between you and the world, breathing in and exhaling you into the next minute, the next second, the next lifetime. Now, the impact. A small gust of wind turns into hurricane-level speeds, swaying the trees and stripping them of their fragile autumn leaves. The evergreens bend and buckle, the flowers are forced to the ground, the very sky itself feels as if it may burst open above them. The moment lasts only a spare few seconds, but passes over onto the group as easily as a head-on car crash, movements as subtle as breathing in slow motion. A look of fear flashes over Nade's face, breaking them temporarily out of their trance. They continue nonetheless, hoping that this is just part of their plan. It becomes clear in the next few seconds, this is definitely not a part of the plan. A crackle starts, heard before it's seen, like thunder before lightning. Abraham and Liam have no time to react before the lightning strikes, not even a spare moment to look terrified. Both of their bodies go disturbingly rigid, faces going slack as their eyes lock onto each other like a staring contest where the loser dies. Memories, flashes of them, hundreds, thousands, million, maybe more, love, laughter, grief, death, heartbreak, loss, anger, jealousy, sadness, happiness, birth, life, melancholy, boredom, want, need, loneliness, scaredness, hopelessness, and hope. Flashes of a younger Liam enraged and scared, hazily ecstatic, manic and terrified. Flashes of a younger Abraham grief-stricken, quiet and fragile, painfully aware of full of an infinite sorrow, pain, flickers of scrapes on the pavement, a punch thrown half-heartedly, box cutters on flesh, unseen bruises, smacks and slaps, followed by a love that only stings and never heals. Needles, shots, an overdose followed by surgical cuts to wounds that instantly heal over but won't stop the screaming. dying, rebirth, a heap of black hair at the base of a standing mirror, heart stopping and starting again, a slow descent back to earth turned into a free fall that can only end one way. Alarms, yelling, shouting, hands covering the ears uselessly, tears cascading like waterfalls perpetually flowing back into the ocean. Cold freeze that penetrates your very bones, despair and pleading for any kind of end. Warmth, a group huddled together behind a dumpster, a kiss full of love, fire, and flame that burns like a fuel to keep you alive. Hatred and understanding, respect and kindness, a gesture from a stranger that fills you with hope for the future, a true and honest want for tomorrow to arrive. Disembodied laughs, overlapping voices, talking and singing and screeching and howling and goosebumps and pruned extremities, coughs and cackles and cries, warping together to create a melody full of terrible and beautiful humanity. Unlit Matches, Chapter 10, Part 3. What Nade sees, on the other hand, is nothing short of chaos. Once the crackle was heard and then seen, explosions of light erupted from between Abraham and Liam, great and horrible all at once. Lights twist and dance in the sky in colors that can never exist, warping the reality around them. The lush forest surrounding them withers and dies, only to blossom again in a torturous loop. Wounds, skin deep and deeper, appear on both Abraham and Liam, disappearing moments later and reappearing with different ones altogether. Their eyes flicker like TV static, wide-eyed and unblinking and mirroring each other. Liam's eyes switch between his brown eyes to Abraham's golden eyes and vice versa, switching rapidly and at random. The loops start to get faster, wind whipping past and stopping short over and over and over again. Nade's lance starts to emit an eerie yellow glow, splinters shooting out from every nook and cranny. They hold on despite this, unsure of the consequences of cutting this short, only to have a piece of the ever-growing spear shoot directly through their hand. Blood-red sap emerges, dripping from the fresh wound as Nade cries out in pain, causing them to finally drop the lance to the ground. They crumple to the ground, staring at the punctured state of their hand in shock as both Liam and Abraham awaken. The horrendous loop stops, the forest returning to its natural state of chaotic but beautiful landscape. Both pairs of glazed eyes blink in discomfort, refocusing to stare at each other in silence. A truly speechless moment. What is there to say? Nothing comes to mind until a peripheral view of Nade on the ground springs Abraham into action, Liam following suit, if slowly.
Nade? Did it
Abraham's breath catches as he sees what appears to be Nade's blood oozing out of a quarter-sized hole.
Oh my god, are you okay?
He says, despite knowing they are obviously not okay. But what else are you supposed to say in this kind of situation? Liam finally spots the gaping wound, unsure about handling a non-human damage, but determined to help. Taking off his jacket, he squats next to Nade on the ground, gently moving their injured hand closer to him. The sleeves are a bit oversized, so he takes it as his best bet for a makeshift tourniquet, wrapping the wound as best he can. Nade stares silently, still obviously in a state of disbelief, and hopefully whatever form of adrenaline they have to numb the pain. About to tie a knot with the two sleeves, Liam stops and looks at Nade.
It's going to hurt, but it will help. I promise.
A gentle tone rarely heard in his voice takes hold, barely above a whisper. Nade only looks back at him without a word, nodding their head and preemptively closing their eyes, bracing themselves, putting the knot in place. He takes a deep breath in, wanting to tell Nade to do the same, but they haven't been breathing at all the whole time they've been here. Liam quietly wonders how they even talk, but obviously doesn't speak this aloud. He exhales and pulls it as taut as he can, putting another knot over it for security. Nade cringes in pain, their whole body reeling from the hurt of it all. Abraham stays silent, breathing heavily and starting to tremble. Still wanting to help, he sits down next to both Nade and Liam, reaching out to put a comforting hand on Nade's back. He flinches and keeps his hands to himself, terrified of what might occur. Pinpricks of tears form in his eyes, but he wills them to stay back, blinking them away. Nobody says anything for a while. Nade staring at their hand, Liam glancing between an anxious-looking Abraham and a shell-shocked Nade. Abraham keeps his eyes focused on Nade in an almost laser-like fashion, waiting for something. Anything.
I've never bled before.
A simple statement, but heartbreaking nonetheless. Abraham's shoulders slump, and against his previous judgment, he lays a tender hand against Nade's back. He gently rubs back and forth, a common tactic his mom would do to him after having a nightmare, or obtaining an injury. He hopes that despite their separate customs, Nade will understand the comfort and ease he wishes to bring them. They flinch initially, not used to any kind of touch at all, but don't say anything at the gesture. Abraham's voice betrays him in hiding his tears, but he continues, having something to say.
I'm sorry.
An apology, but also a plea mixed with an immense guilt and sorrow. Nade shakes their head, turning to face Abraham.
It is not.
Their eyebrows furrow, trying to choose their words.
You did not cause this intentionally.
Abraham shakes his head, knowing it's true, and his face scrunches up in an attempt to stifle a sob. He wishes he could do more than just comfort them, shakily breathing out as he tries to think of anything. He imagines the morphine drips connected to his mother, easing her pain and allowing her to softly sleep for a small period of respite. He thinks of getting a frozen bag of some kind of veggie mix and lying it against a black and blue splotch that Liam would never admit hurt as bad as it did. He always left in the freezer until they moved, not wanting to throw it away. Liam looks up at him, a sudden expression of surprise and shock.
You kept that around for me?
A bewildered look blended with tenderness, his mouth slightly agape.
Yeah, I did.
Abraham reflects a similar expression, baffled at the realization that they just remembered the same exact scenarios.
I was just thinking, I wish I had something like that right now to help.
Liam hums in agreement, looking back at Nade with a frown of uncertainty. He tries to think of ways to comfort others, but looking back at it was only ever self-defensive or self-soothing behaviors that triumphed over kindness. Drawing a blank, only recalling bad memories, Liam sighs and fully sits down on the grass, a bit defeated. Nade, still out of it, at least more than usual, softly rubs against their hand. They appear both scared and in awe of the wound, a new sensation discovered they would prefer not to happen again. Still attempting to soothe them, Abraham continues to gently rub their back, wishing his accursed powers could do something helpful for once, instead of harmful. Who else was he going to hurt while he figured things out? If he figured things out. The thought nearly petrifies him. More uncomfortable silence is endured, only the small rustlings of woodland animals and buzzing insects around to break the lack of noise. A faint glow starts to appear from Abraham's palm, none of them even realizing yet due to the tuned-out nature of this very moment. It slowly gets brighter like the sun rising at dawn, a pale yellow-white glow expanding by the second. Liam notices it first, making the very astute observation of, is your hand glowing? Nade momentarily breaks from their trance-like state to turn their head around to look. Abraham's hand freezes on Nade's back. He starts to lift it off before the ball of light shoots into them through their back. Nade jolts reflexively, trying to either turn around or escape, or both. Small tendrils, branch-like in appearance, flow into them from Abraham's open palm, stuck in the air as if being pulled in magnetically.
I don't know what this is. I can't seem to stop it.
Cut off by his own hand that is now being pushed into Nade's upper back, more light emerging at the sudden contact. He tries to pull away again, but nothing is budging. Abraham frantically tries anyway, looking desperately at Liam as if he would have any idea of what to do. As Liam starts to stand up and try to help, Nade's posture fully relaxes as they attempt to untie all of the aforementioned's hard work. As Liam expertly packaged bandage is removed.
No, wait, don't untie...
His arm shuddered reflexively, trying to stop whatever pain-induced mania is now occurring, only to slowly put them back down again. As Liam's expertly packed bandage is removed, Nade's own palm faintly glows as the last bits of the wound are healed, dimming until it's gone entirely. Simultaneously, Abraham's hand becomes detachable again, and he scrambles over to see a fully healed hand, no sap in sight.
Thank you.
Nade says, tentatively moving and flexing their hand as they start to stand up. Baffled and thankful all at once, Abraham manages out and extremely breathless.
Yeah, of course.
Liam says nothing as he stands up with the two of them in true disbelief and awe. Not like it was the weirdest thing he's seen tonight, but bearing witness to it almost brought him to tears. His head felt packed with wool, buzzing and ringing that dance around in his ears just loud enough to hear. Nade gingerly holds out Liam's jacket as if feeding a wild animal, and he takes it with a small smile and nod. He puts it on rather quickly, not wanting to admit he's been freezing half to death while someone's bleeding out in front of him. Nade's eyes are locked onto the ground, staring at their lance, now definitely worse for wear. They pick it up, and the newly formed cracks mend into a new bark and foliage. A small blossom starts to bloom, splitting into two beautiful buds in a pinkish hue. Tiny stems are ever so gently plucked by Nade, handing both men a blossom each.
As long as I am still here, bound to this earth, these flowers will last eternally.
They stop and look up into both Abraham and Liam's eyes, matching each of their gazes.
I am sorry I was not of more use. And thank you, both of you.
Before a response can be made, Nade's form vanishes entirely, the two of them alone now, staring at their respective blossoms with a sense of care and kindness. Abraham's hair shifts awkwardly in front of his face, obstructing his vision, but giving him something to fix in the meantime. Liam notices this useless task of pushing back hair, only to have it spring back again, inconveniently. He finally speaks up, still softly, as if not to wake another person.
I have some experience, if you want. If you would want me to cut your hair when we're back.
Abraham smiles in return as they start the trek back home.